There's only one way out, where the blacktop ends, 5 miles south. Cross the tracks and don't turn back. Let's go. In your tight black jeans, you've been misbehaving and living up to that reputation, girl. Hard to read, hard to please. Like me. Smoke signals in your eyes, whiskey trails of butterflies, drinks on up on the tailgate. Feel that shot like a 12 gauge. It started with a flicker. Feel the heat of the liquor. When the stars come out, break away from the crowd, chasing smoke signals. Smoke signals. I had a plan, but your hands tell me I don't need it. Got me heavy breathing, girl. So put on a show, show me what you know. Smoke signals in your eyes, whiskey trails of butterflies, drinks on up on the tailgate. Feel that shot like a 12 gauge. It started with a flicker. Feel the heat of the liquor. When the stars come out, break away from the crowd, chasing smoke signals. Yeah. Oh no, is that close? Don't tell me where this wildfire goes. We both know when you get this close, watch this night go up and smoke signals in your eyes, whiskey trails of butterflies. You and me on the tailgate, feel that shot like a 12 gauge. Started with a flicker, feel the heat of the liquor. When the stars come out, break away from the crowd, chasing smoke signals. No telling where this wildfire goes, but girl, I gotta know. No telling where this wildfire goes. Yeah, it started with the flicker, for the heat of the liquor when the stars come.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the January 29th edition of the Hughes Sports Podcast. I am, of course, your host, Jake Hughes, alongside the old man. Old man, how the hell are you doing today?
I am doing great. What a great song, by the way. That was our
That
new
is.
intro and our new logo. Who's that song by?
That is by Fleischer, a local band here in Calgary. Up and comers have won a handful of awards from the Alberta country music.
Oh, come on. Tell them who he is.
He is a very good friend of mine.
Thank you.
I went to school with him, but love to support people where we can. But
Yes.
yeah.
Speaking of support,
Speaking of support, we'd love you guys to support us. Please
Yes.
hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching now, drop in some comments like Dom and D already have. Nice touch with the Fleischer. New logo. We're rebranding for season 2.
I'm the
Episode
young guy
3,
with the
season
brown
2.
hair, right? That's
Yes,
on
of
that
course.
logo?
Of course. Definitely not the old man in the old man part of the podcast.
No.
When I'm saying Jake Hughes and the old man, I'm talking about myself, my dual personalities, not you. But we don't want to keep our guest waiting much longer here.
Thank goodness.
We have a friend of the show. He's been on, this will be his second appearance. You can find him daily, Monday through Friday, on the Sekeres and Price show. He is the one, the only Matt Sekeres. Welcome to the show, sir.
Jake, Kevin, good to join you again. Hope you guys are doing well.
Glad to have you from rainy, misty Vancouver. We'll call it rainy.
Rainy, downpour, it's the same thing at this point, right?
Hey, like at this time of year, you know it's going to rain, right? So we're
It's
getting
Vancouver.
all the rain that we missed in November, December this year is coming home to roost here in late January. But nothing can dampen the spirits these days of the Vancouver Canucks or their fans heading into the All-Star game with the league's best record. How about this guy? We spoke on the eve of the season.
We did.
And I don't think anybody had this happening or even any semblance.
Well,
No.
I think if we went back and looked at that clip, I'm sure all three of us said, if we make the playoffs, we'd be
Right.
happy.
Right.
And now we're
Right.
at 71 points in 49 games.
No, exactly. And the playoffs are all but a guarantee. And with the way things are going here, with Jack Eichel out in Vegas, like we could very well be talking about the number one seed in the Western Conference and the best team in the Pacific Division when it's all said and done. I mean, sitting here contemplating a 16-game winning streak from the Edmonton Oilers, and they've made up like a couple of points on the Canucks, even with a near historic streak here, and that's just because Vancouver keeps winning. Like had no business winning a couple of games this week, or at least you would have thought, okay, they're down and they're due for losses here, particularly Saturday against Columbus, and the damnedest thing, they just keep finding ways to win. We've been talking on the show a little bit how more recently it's kind of reminded us of the 2011 team where they don't even really need to play 3 periods and they can win a hockey game. Like that's how good they are. That's how everything is falling into place
Now,
for these Canucks this year.
what year did you start covering the Canucks?
So the end of I got here December 2007. So 07-08 was the first season that I started covering Canucks. That would have been the last season of Dave Nonis as general manager. He was at the end of the year. That was, of course, a non-playoff season after coming off the heroics of Roberto Luongo in the previous season, where a sort of an ugly duckling Canucks team without a lot of scoring rode Roberto Luongo and Alain Vigneault's system to first place in their division. And then, really the next year is when the team started to take flight. Gillis came in as general manager. They made improvement. They became a perennial playoff team. And then, of course, became the Western Conference champions in that incredible year of 2010-2011 where they won the President's Trophy. They came back the next year and won the President's Trophy. So those were the days that I care to remember because, as you know, fellas, there hasn't been a lot of winning since then.
And this is the reason I asked the question is you've been through the dark years, I'll call it, through the Canucks in the last decade. What does it feel like now to be covering a team that's winning again?
I'm just, first and foremost, I'm so pleased for the city. Just life in Canada is better through the winter months when the hockey team's playing well. And, this city and these Canucks fans have put up with so much crap over the last decade. So first and foremost, I'm pleased about that. Secondly, it's just refreshing being able to talk about a different story now, fellas. Like it had begun to feel a little bit like Groundhog Day, where, the Canucks were out of it by, Christmas, if not New Year's. You knew it wasn't going to include the Stanley Cup playoffs. You had started to do all the research on the draft prospects, the top 10 guys by, January, February. You beat Bob McKenzie to the midterm rankings. Like you already had those guys researched. So yeah, that's been an awesome part of this year as well. Being able to talk about all the great stories like Brock Besser getting to 30 goals, like Thatcher Demko finally now healthy and making his bid for a Vezina Trophy, Quinn Hughes making his bid for a Norris Trophy, dare I say Hart Trophy potentially still as well, given the way he's playing. I mean, 5 Canucks in the All-Star game, ridiculous.
And the coach.
Most players since the 80s Oilers. I mean, so my goodness, it has been quite a year and chock-a-block with fantastic stories. So it's been amazing being able to talk about all of those things and not talk about a team that is playing out the string.
Well, and how weird is it? Because you cover the team daily. The fan engagement I've noticed is still on that precipice of, when's everything going to fall apart to going on a playoff run? And it could depend on what the game happened the day before. The fan base seems very split on what's going on with everything.
Well, my old colleague Don Taylor has a great sentence for a great phrase. He calls it, Canucks fans and impending doom. Doom is always around the corner. The other shoe is about to drop. They have been well conditioned for this over 50 plus season. So I do get a lot of that. I still see a lot of that. Jake is like, pinch me. This can't really be happening. Okay, what's the next bad turn that's going to befall our franchise here? It's going, needless to say, this is a fan base that has been quite scarred over the years. So full wholehearted belief might not be until April. Then, as you know, in April, your team's going to win, right? Like, of course your team's going to win. Yeah, everybody's picking the Canucks to win in April. So we may not see the full buy-in in terms of belief until April. But, like, I got to tell you guys, the beginning of this season, when we did, when last I joined you on the show here, was probably the most muted start of season that I've ever experienced here in Vancouver. I think there were a lot of fans who had zero expectations, who had kind of checked out emotionally, who were, okay, well, some nice additions in the offseason, but they're not needle movers. Like, we're going to need to take a huge step forward, and just frankly didn't believe that this team and this group had it in them. So I guess it's also been cool to see perhaps the most dour, most muted, most indifferent preseason and training camp that I've ever been a part of here in Vancouver covering the Canucks. So instantly change in that first week when they got that demolition victory over the Edmonton Oilers to start the year. And then they go into Edmonton and Casey DeSmith stands on his head, and somehow, someway they get a comeback victory against McDavid and Draisaitl. And the next thing you know, they're off to the races, and now that little seed of belief was planted, and they've done a hell of a job cultivating it through 50 games in the season here.
I would have hated to see what would have happened looking back at that if we lost those two first games.
Mm-hmm.
Could it have been the same old, oh, here we go again?
Yeah. I'm not sure what the player group, Kevin, but the market would have fully been okay.
Yeah,
got to prove it to us. But they had that incredible start.
Oh,
and then you kept waiting, and there were a few little hiccups there, but you just sort of kept waiting for the team to come back down to earth. Like, sitting there playing 700 hockey, like a 700 hockey team. Like, what's going on here? And yet here they are, 49 games in. They're playing better than 700 hockey. I mean, first place in standings points, first place in points percentage, most regulation wins, best goal differential. So, just go across the metrics there of how we gauge the best hockey teams, and the Vancouver Canucks give no quarter to anyone right now.
Well, and it's insane because online, listening to the feedback, people are still asking the question, oh, is Petey playing through something? Oh, like Brock seems off, and we're seeing dips and a natural season progression. Like, we're not going to see Brock Besser scoring at the torrid pace he was in November through the entire season.
Yeah.
We also still have questions about Kuzmenko and the second line of the top six. Really, we've got 4 cemented players as top 6, 2 players who could be top 6 players but aren't reaching their potential. And I know you're probably sick and tired of talking about it, but I do have to ask the question: what do you do with Kuzmenko and that top 6? Is that what your biggest priority is coming into the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, and I think so because they've indicated that. I think we are getting, we're getting into a scenario here with Kuzmenko that's untenable, and by that I mean he's not scoring. He doesn't particularly play the Rick Tocchet style of hockey. They've been trying to coach him on that, and it just doesn't seem to be something he's willing to do. And Jake, they need that cap space. So if they are going to swing the big trade and get the big top 6 forward, then they're probably going to have to deploy the Andrei Kuzmenko salary to get him, to get that player. There are some lower cost options potentially where you could simply add a player without having to subtract. But if you're in on Elias Lindholm in Calgary, if you're in on Jake Gensel in Pittsburgh, you're going to have to find a way to move some money out because they're so cap tight. That unless somebody consequential with a big salary gets hurt and you can put them on the long-term injured reserve, I just don't see any way of them being able to create cap space other than a dollar out, dollar in scenario, or by moving Kuzmenko somewhere.
Now, you're around the team on a daily basis. You mentioned the two names that we keep hearing. Which one is more feasible to you, do you think?
Between Kuzmenko and, you mean Gensel and Lindholm?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think some of it is a conversation with the coaching staff and asking Rick Tocchet and Mike Yeo, look, how do you want to go in the playoffs? Do you want to go with a lot of line? Do you want to load up Besser and Miller with Pettersson? Or do you want that balance with Pettersson centering his own line? If Tocchet and company have a preference for Pettersson centering his own line, then I think you're probably better served to get that winger in and see if you can get him a running mate, much like Besser has become Miller's running mate. If they actually believe that the best way to win a Stanley Cup playoff series, and there's been a lot of debate about this, is to run out that fantastic first line and then hope you can get by with the next 9 guys. And let's face it, that Garland, Bluger, Joshua line has been extraordinary this year. So, it could be that they think that they think they have the depth and would be comfortable with the matchups. Then I think the idea is you need a second line center in there. That we've seen what Pia Suter's done here on the wing with Miller and Besser of late. Then you would want a legitimate second line center, and then allow Suter to continue to sort of roam as a hybrid and potentially center a line down the lineup or be a winger. So I do think the big sort of deadline acquisition, and of course who can you get, right? With what trade do you feel comfortable with? So I think the big deadline decision involves a conversation with the coaching staff and just how exactly they would prefer to go at it in the playoffs.
Well, and we know Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin like to kind of set the market rather than be reactionary to it. Could you see this kind of break here with the bye and then the All-Star game being a time where that deal kind of starts to move the pieces and we get something out of All-Star break? Or do we need more games with Kuzmenko to really get to that point where teams are willing to take a shot at him?
I think we're getting low on games here, Jake.
Yeah.
I would think sooner better at this. Now you have time. You have another month if you do want to use it. And it is a 39-goal guy from last year. But, this has been going on for some time now. This is going on for a couple of months now. So how much more time are you going to give it at this stage of the game? So, yeah, everything that we know about Rutherford being an early mover. And I've always supported early moving in the past because if you get a guy on the deadline, boy, you just don't have a lot of time to integrate him into your lineup. Like, it is hard to integrate a guy and get him the best out of him and get the full chemistry that you can get out of him with whomever he plays with, whether it's a defenseman or a forward, in the 17, 18 games that you get before the playoffs, particularly if you're joining a team that already knows it's going to the playoffs and doesn't have that sort of sense of urgency every night, that is coasting a little bit. So when you look at Rutherford's track record, when you look at how long they have been through this Andrei Kuzmenko business, I think it behooves and points to a trade sooner rather than later.
I tend to agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And plus, I think the fan base would like it because then we could stop talking, and I'm sure media as well would love it, so we can stop talking about Kuzmenko.
Yeah,
I think I think the world of the player. I think he's super great. Anytime he's talked in media, he's always been positive and up. But sometimes it's not the right place and at the right time.
Right, and that's the other thing here is, like, this is a player the market fell in love with, in part because the player fell in love with the market. Like, yes. He was this very coveted. He was a coveted free agent. He came to Vancouver. He instantly loved the city. He's all over social media talking about how much he loves the city. He has this incredibly bright, enthusiasm and electricity to him as a person and as a player. He's even fighting through the language barrier to make us smile and make us laugh. And he has this incredible first season of 39 goals where you think, okay, this is going to be, and certainly management thought, this is going to be a cornerstone player going forward. He will be our goal scoring winger in place of Brock Besser because Brock Besser isn't scoring anymore and we're trying to trade him and his agent is out there looking for a new home. So just look at how all of this has turned, fellas.
Just insane.
In the last year, right. Never a dull moment with the Vancouver Canucks. We had dull seasons, but now we're back to, an unpredictable year with all sorts of subplots within the greater story that we've really enjoyed discussing over the course of the year. The Kuzmenko regression and sophomore slump being one of the ones we haven't.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but again, it's been a great season, and I know we have to say goodbye to you because you have.
Yeah, I got a couple more minutes, fellas. Yeah.
The only question I have left. So, old man, if you have any other questions, go ahead.
Nope. No, you go ahead, bud. You're
last
in
one
charge.
I have. The old man here predicted that we would go 9-1-3 in January. Yeah. And I told him he was out to lunch. We went 10-1-2.
I was gonna say I thought it was 10.
Yeah, we went 10-1-2 in January.
I was off by 1.
Kevin, how dare you shortchange them?
I know.
Ye of little faith.
He is now predicted in the last 33 games that we're going to win 25 of them, which puts us at a 69 or 694 win percentage, which is lower than what we're at right now. What say you?
But that also puts them at like 120 points. If I'm not mistaken.
That would be a president's winning.
One
team.
would think. I mean, and unless that Tampa team, last year's Boston or that Tampa team from a few years ago, suddenly emerges, that would be a President's Trophy run. And we've asked that as a poll question on our show. Like, do you care about it? And of course, most of the market doesn't. Twice bitten on that one, both in 2011 and in 2012. And in my sense, it's mildly disappointing that trophy has been looked at as a jinx or as uncoveted, or as a marker of a team that's going to fall playoff flat. Because when you take a look at it, as tough as the Stanley Cup playoffs are and winning 16 games over 4 rounds, the measure of a team over 82 games is not insignificant. Like that is quite an achievement if you're better than 31 other professional clubs over the course of an 82 game balanced schedule. So I mean, we'll see where the season goes. I guess President's Trophy would just be the ironic cherry on top, right? To a year that absolutely nobody saw coming if they could hit those heights.
And it's interesting because now it's, what is success now? We said making the playoffs.
And Kevin, that is a huge question, and one we were kicking around on our show last week, because I think for many, up into a certain stage of this year, get to the playoffs, let the chips fall.
Yes.
Anything beyond the first round is gravy. Like, you win the first round, and then you are absolutely delighted you're one of the 8 teams standing, and if anything else happens from there, full-on gravy. Now, I'm not sure house money applies with how good the team has been. Like, there is an expectation.
Yes.
Certainly there should be an expectation on behalf of the player group.
Hell yeah.
Management has talked about how they owe it to the player group to go out and get them another teammate for the playoff drive. And my sense is the market, if in fact we do get to April with the Canucks sitting on the number 1 seed in the West, or at least the first place in the Pacific and the number 2, now you're expected to win. So
we kicked it around. We said you got to make it to the Cup.
Well, I'm of the belief that if you make the conference final in this league, unless you're a team that absolutely is poised as a recent champion or a team that has been to a number of conference finals and finals, that the Stanley Cup is the next step. I'm of the belief that unless you fit into one of those two narratives, that making the conference final is a successful season in this league. I mean, 32 teams to make it to the Final Four, particularly if you're making it from the depths of where the Canucks would be making it from. And really, fellas, when I take a look around at the National Hockey League this year, Colorado, Vegas, maybe there's one or two other teams that would be disappointed if they weren't in the Cup final. Like, there are very few teams for whom I think you have to win it all or make the final, or the season is disappointing. I think for the most part, and what applies to most teams, is if you make the conference final and the Final Four, as disappointing as it might be to lose out in that round or to lose out in the Cup final, that's a heck of a season, and that's one you should be proud of. And if the Canucks get to either of those steps, dear God, I mean, this is a rousing success of the year. Nobody could be disappointed with that, given where expectations were in September and October.
And selfishly, losing before the Western Conference final might be better for me because I have a Europe trip planned, because I was like, oh, it's fine. There's no chance the Canucks are going to be
out there in the universe.
I know.
There's no chance the Canucks are going to be on a run.
We've had to go over this with audience members. I've had to go over it with my own family and friends. It's like, this year, believe it or not, I might be busy in late April. I may not have time for you in early May.
There will be no holidays.
Plan to go to that wedding or to go to that, that cabin for May 2-4. I may actually be working.
And you know what? You'll be happy to be working.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, particularly since, once, God, there are a couple of signposts in the season, fellas, that we have just dreaded over the last few years when they've been so bad. Number one is when you get past trade deadline and you no longer have that to talk about. And then number two, when you get through the final, not just the final regular season game, but then the final year-end media of the player interviews and the coach. And then they move into that, no-fly zone where there's like no news happening. And you're just sitting there speculating about the summer and what.
And you still have to do a show.
And like we're still doing a show. Who are you going to draft? Who are you going to re-sign? Who are you going to trade? And that can be like a 2-month process from early April until mid to late June, almost 2.5 months. So I would be quite content if we don't have to walk that road again this year, and that if we're playing games through May, and hey, if we have to spitball for 3 weeks in advance of the draft and everything, that suits me just fine.
Yes,
3 weeks is a lot better than 2.5 months,
right? Exactly.
Jake and I were talking, and we've decided that we're going to have our go live on every playoff round where there's a chance of either elimination or winning.
Yes.
So that people can see how irrational we really are.
Yeah.
Because it will be irrational.
Right. Those are both the weakest, most insecure moments and the biggest moments of bravado and overconfidence, right?
100%.
Take home the series, or oh my God, it could all end tonight. So.
Yes. Anyways, Matt, thank you so much.
Fellas, my pleasure. Thanks for the time. Always enjoy the conversation with you guys. Take it easy on the old man, Jake. All right.
I'll try to. It's hard sometimes. Gotta keep him in line.
No, exactly. But I appreciate it.
And you notice we didn't ask you about the Team Canada thing. We left that alone.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that was on the agenda. You'll have to have me back.
We'll have to have you back.
Yeah.
Once we get a little bit more information, we'll talk about it some more.
There you go.
Shout out to Dee and Dom and everyone who's commenting there. Thank you for the kind words, guys. Yeah, wish you the best with the show. And hey, we'll see where this story ends in the spring.
We might have to have you
on.
Happy to do it.
Raising
awesome,
the
Matt. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, be well.
Okay.
Bye.
Matt
Well, that was
Sekeres, people.
Yes, if you do like listening to Matt Sekeres like I do, again, they put out a show every single weekday, Monday through Friday, unless there's a holiday, and then they'll usually do an abridged version with the Sekeres and Price Presents, where they talk to former players.
They actually put their show out on holidays.
When they pre-record something and edit it and put it all together, they actually put it out on
really?
holidays.
Okay. I was just checking to see if other people did that. I wasn't sure. What a great interview. I just love having him on. He's so just down to earth. He's like us, eh? He's just a fan of the game.
Yeah. And so easy to talk to. I always find there are a handful of people, of guests that we've had on where I get overly nervous to talk to. And the first time, and you know this, before Matt came on, I was a bundle of nerves. But he's so easy to talk to that it makes it so much easier, and I'm sure the conversation is a lot better.
DJ's Streams is going to go put his sweater on.
I see there's awesome. some friendly banter back and forth.
Oh, I see, because Matt said hi to D and Dom and not Deej.
It's true.
Sorry, Deej. We'll say hi to you.
Hey, he's the only one who's got an official Hughes Sports merchandise.
I don't even have one.
He doesn't. No one does. He is the only one.
It's one maybe of a we'll kind, get, dude. One of the
maybe
kind.
We'll get some with the new logo in the top corner here. We'll get some new merch.
I would wear that. That would be cool on a freaking hoodie.
Hoodie or a hat. Both. I know you're affinity for hats, so
yeah. Now I think a hoodie with it on the up here on the chest of the hoodie.
Yeah,
I think that would be cool.
Just nice and simple. We'll get it in a couple colors.
Kevin on the sleeve. Yeah.
No, we're not going to put your name on the hoodie. Maybe we'll make you one where it's not even co-host. It's just the old man shows up when available, occasionally on a trip and cannot be on the show. But it's fine. Jay will fill in.
This to the effing guy who planned holidays during the playoffs.
Look, I didn't plan them during the playoffs. I planned them. Well, I did plan them during the playoffs. I planned them based off of August this past year. And if you told me in August that we would have been in the playoffs and have a chance, not just in the playoffs, but have a chance to win the President's Trophy.
It's insane. It really is. When you think about the last few years, how horrible we've been. Basically, what did we do? I want the hat so I can leave it on during the national anthems. Brandon, we love you. That's fucking awesome.
You guys missed it. There was a rant at the end of last week's episode. Go back and listen.
Oh, too funny. So, we're taking the All-Star break. We're not taking the All-Star break.
This is our All-Star break. We had Matt Sekeres on the show. This is our All-Star break.
Yes. What do you expect from the All-Star game?
I don't care.
I don't even pay attention anymore. I used to way back when.
I paid attention when they first brought out the fan vote, and John Scott, was it John Scott was his name?
Yeah, Scott
got voted in by the fans, and that's why you can no longer just vote in whoever you want.
That was hilarious.
But that's because there was a story there that was actually good. A player who was a journeyman. Everyone who had ever played with him talked great about him, and the fans said, "You're going to the All-Star game."
To me, it's like the Emmys or the Academy Awards. It's a bunch of freaking millionaires patting each other on the back, kissing each other's butt.
It's for the kids.
I could say other things, but I won't.
It's for the kids and it's for the
advertisers. What are you doing with your microphone tonight?
It's jumping around on me. I don't know what's going on here.
It's like fighting. It was like he's going to end up swallowing that microphone.
It's going to knock me out, I think is what's going to happen. It's like these Rock'em Sock'em robots. It's going to knock me out.
So the Hughes fam is not watching the All-Star game.
But it's not intended for us. It's not intended, and I mean this in the nicest way. It's not intended for diehards. It's intended for media, as in advertisers, executives to get together, meet up, and it's for kids. If Mia, my niece, your granddaughter, was super into hockey, she'd probably want to watch an All-Star game because it's super interesting. It's a lot of fun, but it's not something that I care about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I don't mind this break. We have 10 days of no hockey. Ellison is extremely happy because this is probably one of the first years in probably 5 years. I'm going to say 6 years that I've literally watched. I'm going to say the majority of games. I'm going to say probably 99% of the games I've watched. I've probably missed one or two. Because we're out or doing something else.
I was gonna say, even if I haven't been able to watch the whole game, I've been able to catch a period, keep up with it, or then watch back. And again, I want to give a shout out to Sportsnet. We do rag on the Carriers a lot up here in Canada. Their recaps after the games of not just highlights but big plays, fantastic.
Yeah, they are definitely. But this is like Matt was saying. After all the horrible seasons we've had over the last, it's so refreshing to, like, I had my old boss and I, we talked on Saturday, and it was supposed to be a quick phone call. I was sending somebody to him to buy a car, and it was supposed to be a quick call, and we ended up talking for almost 45 minutes about the Canucks.
Yeah.
Right?
Is he a Canucks fan?
And it wasn't.
Is he a Canucks fan or is he just a hockey fan?
No, he's a huge Canuck fan, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been fun.
It's fun watching hockey again when your team's winning. And it sounds silly, but it's been like, don't get me wrong, even through these dark years, I've probably watched 90% of the games.
Oh, or if not more, right?
If not more. But it was a slog. It was falling asleep at the second intermission because it was a 2-0 game. You knew your team wasn't coming back.
It would be hard for me to do this show because we started it
last year, January of last year.
So
there was a lot of storylines.
We were pretty much out of the playoffs at that point.
No, not pretty much. We were out of the playoffs at that point.
I was the one going, we can do it. We can make it. I remember.
Well, this was the timeline where Rick Tocchet was introduced as head coach. Last week, I think was his full 1 year.
Yeah. So can you imagine having to have covered the Canucks and do a daily talk show where all you're talking about is what can we do to fix it?
Well, that's why I applaud Matt Sekeres and Blake Price. Like, they've had to, and I don't say had to, but they've wanted to branch out and talk about other sports because there's some positive stories out there. There's something that's not watching a team that's just disappointing every night.
Yeah.
Like, you've got the BC Lions, you've got the Whitecaps, but they branched out into golf and into F1 because it was just, you needed something to fill the time. Like, again, we did January, February, March, part of April, like the first week of April last year. 3 months of Canucks talk.
One show a week.
And we were running out of things to talk about, where it's just like, the Canucks suck. This is the drama that's going on. Let's wrap it up.
Okay, so that's a 5-minute show. Have a good night.
Exactly.
Really, that's what it was.
And don't get me wrong, we're very good at dragging things out that shouldn't be. There are very few gifts that we have.
But
the
we
gifts
can
that
make
we
a
have,
short story long.
We can make any story long. We could make a 1-second story an hour conversation. But again,
I have to click on the chat again because I'm sure people are going to comment about that.
Oh, I'm sure. But 49 games played, 11 losses, and 5 overtime losses. 16 losses in 49 games.
It's insane. We
haven't lost double digits at home, which is unheard of at this point of the year, the last 10 years.
Brandon is just, how do you put up with Brandon on a regular basis?
I don't. He'll tell you that. I don't. Sometimes there are days where, and literally, and I mean this in a nice way, there are days where he calls, I'm just like, no, not today.
No, you're like, I can't deal with your energy today. No. He says, if you miss 2 games, that's 96% of the games, actually.
Well, la-di-da, Mr. Math Major. Why don't you go do math?
Go math somebody.
Design your hats. Go design your hats that you can wear during the national goddamn anthem.
Do we have diapers to change or something? Is there another baby on the way soon?
We're not. This is not our personal lives podcast. This is still our Canucks podcast and BC
Okay.
Lions. Something I wanted to talk about that we didn't get to with Mr. Sekeres.
Yeah.
But I want your thoughts on. So moneypuck.com, that's where I get all of our advanced stats for when we talk about things. To win the cup, the Carolina Hurricanes are number 1, and they have a 10.8% chance.
Really?
You got to remember that it's all taking into account who they're facing throughout the playoffs.
Who they could be facing. Yeah, okay.
Who they could be facing, their winning records, their losing records against those teams, and then projecting. The Canucks are number 2 at 10.7%.
Wow.
We have a 99.98% chance to make the playoffs, a 65.3% chance to make the second round.
Do they go into a percent of President Trophy?
They do not.
First in the league?
They do not. They have first in division, which we have the highest odds of finishing first in the division at 80.3%. Wow. That's not highest in the Pacific. That is highest in the NHL. The next closest team is Boston, who's 66.3% chance.
Wow.
We have a 14% chance better than Boston, who, again, is one of those teams where if they don't make the second round of the playoffs, that's considered a failure. And that was coming into the season.
There's going to be huge changes if Boston loses in the first round again.
They have a 99.94% chance to make the playoffs. We have a 99.98.
So basically, we could literally win one game the rest of the year. Do the math, Brandon.
Yeah, math that, Brandon. Guy. It's wild. I have no. There's like I don't even have words to describe.
It's literally. It's been such a weird year because we keep saying like they can't keep this up. They can't keep this pace that they've been playing.
At this point,
it's impossible. They're not going to be able to keep it up. We said that in when did the season start?
September.
September. We said it in October. We said it in November. We said it in December. We're saying it in January. But now we're looking at it going, okay, I'm saying they're going to win 25 more games.
And that's not out of the question. That's literally playing down 5% from what they're playing, which is within the average, which is like a winning team's going to go up and down about 7 to 5% of your win percentage.
Right? So think about it. We could end up with 120 points. We said 90.
92. I said 92.5, and I looked at the clip today because I wanted to make sure. And Matt Sekeres said, "I'm probably taking the under. If you're making me say shoot, make it pick, I'm taking the under."
No, I should have brought this up because that was the one question he didn't want you to ask during that first interview.
It's true.
Don't you dare ask me that question.
No, he said, "Don't ask me if the Canucks are going to make the playoffs."
Yes.
And I know Mr. Sekeres well enough by listening to him and being a write-in to the show for different segments that if you word things properly, not only will he answer it, but he'll also respect you for using the proper wording. And that's why I worded it the way I did.
That's awesome.
We've talked about it before, but it's something else I want to bring attention to. Shooting percentage for this team. Because it's insane. 12% is usually is the average for the NHL, or was last year, 12 point something percent. We have, in no particular order, actually there is a particular order, and I'll explain it after. We have Andrei Kuzmenko shooting at a 12.7%. Carson Soucy, Elias Pettersson, Dakota Joshua, Pia Suter, Sam Lafferty, JT Miller, Brock Besser, and Nils Höglander. That's 9 players. 9 of them at a higher shot percentage than the league average was last year.
You run out of adjectives to describe this team. Overachievers just keeps coming to my head. But are they? I mean, when do we have to stop the as Matt said, the doomsday scenario, and just say this team is this damn good. The Oilers have won 16 straight games in a row. 16 in a row.
And they haven't caught us.
12 points back from us. With, yes, they have 3 games in hand.
I don't care. I'm sorry. Like, at that point, I don't care.
They could win. We could lose the 3. They could win the 3, and they're still not close to us. They're still 6 points back with 33 games to play.
And I was going to say, and it's not a easy thing to come back from. 6 points, like, oh, that's 6 points. With only 33 games, that's a huge jump. That's the difference of playing, like doing the math quickly here, that's a difference of playing at like a 750 versus a 620.
Yeah.
Win percentage. That's huge. It's huge.
Last year, the Canucks dug a massive hole for themselves in the first 10 games.
Yep.
And everybody said, that's it. They're done. The Oilers did the same thing. Now they've gone on a run. Like
they did what we said we needed to do and go 16 in a row.
Right? They've put themselves in a playoff spot. But if you go back and you look at your moneypuck.com at the beginning of the year, Oilers were supposed to be one of the top teams.
The Oilers are where they are supposed to be. To be honest, like the Oilers right now, looking at the standings, that's where the Oilers were expected to be by the experts, by the advanced stats math.
Oh, see, I kept hearing that they were going to be one of the top teams. They're expected to take it all. They're
expected to take 100%. They're expected to take it all, but in the regular season, they've never been a great regular season team. They're not the Toronto Maple Leafs who can go on these 110 point seasons and then fall apart in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Pacific was supposed to be a decently competitive, if not weak division. We still are. We still are. But if you told me Vancouver was going to be at the top of that and Vegas was the one sliding out and LA falls off a cliff.
Look at we're literally tied for first place. We have the tiebreaker. We have the tiebreaker. So we're literally in first place.
At the All-Star break.
It's insane. We keep saying it, and we're just repeating ourselves. So I'm going to say it. This team's for real. I made a post the other day. We kept saying, "Oh, don't get too excited. Oh, it's just December. Don't get too excited. It's January. Don't get too excited." Well, guess what, folks? It's the All-Star break. That used to be the thing. Let's see where you are at the All-Star break. Well, guess what, folks? We're number 1.
The All-Star break.
Where's Winnipeg? Everybody, it drove me nuts when Winnipeg went on that run and they were in first place in the league. And everybody was, oh, look at Winnipeg. Yeah.
The Canucks haven't played Winnipeg. No, Winnipeg hasn't played the Canucks, motherfuckers. I'm sorry. I hated that. Well, they haven't played the Canucks, the Jets. They haven't played the Jets yet. The Jets haven't played us. We're at the point right now where it's not that they haven't played us, it's we haven't played you.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just going to give Jake a second to read this nonsense.
Oh, I already read it.
Nonsense. Don't tell me we're lucky because we didn't get hurt. That's a silly statement. That's just silliness. We're damn good. We're just that damn good. And you know what? I can say it. I've been a fan for 50 plus years. This is one of the best teams I've ever seen on the ice for the Canucks, without fail. Would you agree, Jake? He's off in the land somewhere.
I think it's close to being one of the best teams that the Canucks have ever put on the ice.
I guess 2011.
I again, I think the Sedin that team was better after the trade deadline than this team is right now. I think if you put the early season of 2011 versus the early season of this team, I think this team puts a run for their money. And that has nothing bad to say about poor Sedins or anyone on that team or Kessler or Bieksa. But I'm sorry, Bieksa is not Quinn Hughes.
No.
End of story. Ham Hughes, not Quinn Hughes.
No.
Ham Hughes and Bieksa, not Phil Hronek.
I've watched a lot of hockey, just Canucks. And then I watched just one game, the Battle of Alberta. It was Calgary versus Edmonton. The last time they played there. And it was so slow. It was like I was watching it going, is it just me, or is this game way slower than any Canuck game? And then I watched the next Canuck game, and it was, holy shit. Yeah, we're fast.
Yeah.
So we're damn good. What more can I say? We're damn good. What are you doing?
I'm trying to find a stat here just to put people in their place.
There's nothing worse than when you're talking to someone and they're doing this.
I am listening. I am listening. Let's not.
Anybody watching, does it look like Jake's actually listening to me? Does he actually listen? I don't think he's listening, folks. I don't know. I'm just going to babble until he finds this nonsensical stat of his.
NHL injury summary 2022, 2023, 24.
Okay.
How many man games lost do you think we have?
Oh, I have no idea.
So just for those who don't understand what man games lost is for every time a player is out of the lineup due to injury, that counts as one game lost. So if you have 5 players out for one game, you've lost 5 man games.
Yeah.
Just for ease of potential. The Canucks have lost 167 games
to injury.
So far, to injury. And this was posted, just to be clear, this was posted January 27th, so 2 days ago.
Okay, now what about Winnipeg?
Wait, no. You want to talk about, we were talking about this weak division with the Stanley Cup champions, and you're also not taking into the injury into consideration. Edmonton Oilers, 49. Winnipeg, 122. Still lost more.
So Winnipeg, hold on. So math, my math is, I just do simple math. I don't do that fancy stuff that surveyors do. 4, 2, 3, that's 45 game difference.
Yeah. Calgary's only lost 123.
Oh.
Arizona's lost 143, so we're still beating them there. So this
notion
of good players, it doesn't matter. Oh no, wait, it does. I have that stat in front of me too. Thanks for bringing that up, Brandon. Let's see. Calgary has a slightly lower cap hit of injured player. Vancouver has $4 million of cap hits per injured player.
What does Winnipeg have?
They had slightly less, 3.6.
Oh, so again, math says simple math. I just do that simple math shit.
The narratives that come up, and it's always fun because that's why I'm so into stats, because it's all fan bases, it's all people, is that we always are like, oh well, but this is the reason why. Stats don't lie. I'm sorry, look at the stats.
There's one reason why. Just because you overpay. There's one reason. Listen up. There's one reason, and one reason only, why the Canucks are on top of the league. What's that reason, Jake?
They're the best fucking team in the league right now. They're scoring more goals. They're stopping being scored on. End of story. Thatcher Demko, if he's not even nominated for a Vezina this year, is a fucking joke. Quinn Hughes, better than Adam Fox, better than this year of Cale Makar,
better than any other defenseman in the league
by leaps and bounds. Just this year,
that's all we can go by.
He's been better defensively. He's been better offensively. He's been better in the neutral. 17-game win streak. They started the season. Sorry, this has turned into a conversation. This has turned into a conversation with the chat. So please, if you're watching live, please do chime in. Brandon Ollinger said 17-game win streak says otherwise. If talking right now,
it's only 16, by the way.
16.
Don't give him an
He
extra.
did correct it right away. He did correct it right away. But you're right. A 17-game win streak or 16-game win streak,
and
they're
still 12 points behind.
They still haven't caught us. Again, this was something I wanted to get to later in the show, but we did better than the old man predicted. We've lost 3 games since the new year. 2 of them we got a point out of.
Oh, but Edmonton hasn't lost any.
Okay. Let's go back to November and compare the 2 teams. We were clearly a better team. Let's go to December. Let's go to.
They've 13 games, and if they won 13 games and we won, they gained 2 points, 3 points. Is that 4 points?
If we won, they won 13 games, right? So, and we got 22 points, and they got 26 points. They gained 4 points on us.
It's only 33 games left. They ain't gonna do it.
It's 3 more games than the Oilers. Okay, so let's go back here.
For the entire season, the Canucks are the best team in the league as it stands on January 29th. I said November 29th.
So let's just say at 656 is what Edmonton is at. They win their 2 games. Okay, so they win 2 more games. That puts them at the same amount of games played, and they're at 61 points.
What are we
We're
at?
at 71 points. That's a 5-game swing.
They dug themselves, just like the Canucks did last year. They dug themselves too big of a hole. They'll make the playoffs, and they'll probably do very well.
And that's a scary thing. To be very honest, I hope we don't play them in the first round.
No, we won't. There's no way.
And don't say no way, because if Vegas is able to turn it on, or the Kings, I think, have decided to fall apart. But
that would be terrifying if we have to play Edmonton in the first round.
Yeah,
it's the only team I'm really scared of right now in the first round.
Yeah.
So, what else do you want to talk about? Should we talk about the Royal Rumble?
Well, I was going to say that the only other thing I want to talk about before we get into the Turnbuckle segment is the rest of 2023. You have predicted 25-8-3, and since last week, we've gone 2-0-1. We are on track to be at that. We're going to be doing this throughout the entire the rest of the season. So, yeah, that's that for hockey talk. There's no news in the CFL that I'm aware of. Bunch of small moves and things.
They still haven't come back to us about the AB4. They're being chicken. I honestly think they think if they just don't say anything, it'll go away. But there's a couple shows out there. I'm not going to mention them, Rod Peterson and ourselves. So keep bringing it up. And so we should. We deserve answers. If I'm an Edmonton fan, if I'm an Elks fan, I would be irate that nothing's been said. Yet,
they're still saying nothing.
It's amazing to me. It's amazing. We keep trying, folks. We're going to keep trying. When we get a response, we will let you know.
Yes, that is actually something. Thank you, Brandon. Brandon brought this up earlier. We are at the All-Star break. And there are 8 30-goal scorers in the league right now, including Brock Besser, which is absolutely fantastic. And I think if you followed Brock Besser's career outside of hockey, just the personal stuff that he's gone through,
what a year
couldn't have happened to another guy, a nicer guy.
What a year he's had.
And again, 30 points, or 30 goals, not just points, 30 goals, and we're at 49 games played. So he's broken records, personal records, but like, again, like I was saying, I was talking with Brandon earlier today, and we have 8 players that have scored 30 goals or more in the league already at 49 games played or so.
Is there a stat that when that has happened in the past?
I meant to look it up and then I got distracted, and I will put something together either for next week or maybe I'll make an article for HughesSports.ca.
Because that's got to be out. That's got to go back to like into the 80s.
Well, and then but not just that, you've got the players who have already hit 40 or 30 goals. You've got Austin Matthews, who's already hit 40 goals. And then you've got 3 players, including Elias Pettersson at 27. And a couple more, 2 more players at 25. So realistically, like going through a lot of these players, you're going to be looking at 30 goal scorers this year. And games have been higher scoring in the recent years. And it's something that I want to go back and look at the stats and see how often has that happened. How many times have we gotten to an all-star break with this many 30 goal scorers?
I'm telling you, it's got to be back into the 80s.
It's been wild. So right? That is something I want to take a deeper dive into, and why I didn't want to bring up on the show until I did a lot of that deeper digging.
There you go. Next week
we will have
put it on the agenda.
Then in the turnbuckle. I'm glad you brought it up because
we got to have
we need to have like a video transition and something, but I'm only one guy. And I can barely do what
a lot of time on your hands.
I can barely do what the old man expects of me for the podcast. So
blah 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 blah.
But this past weekend was the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I had to watch it a day late because of plans and WWE deciding Saturdays were better days for their pay-per-views, or PLEs as they now call them. Premium live events, because you no longer have to pay for them. They're not pay-per-views.
Right. I guess so.
They're
it's
premium live
network.
events.
Yeah.
It's on the network or Peacock down in the States.
Right.
That's something else. We have 3 things in the wrestling world that I want to talk about.
Let's
start with positive news and the Royal Rumble. What did you think of the show?
Can I break it down into matches? Because there wasn't that many matches. So, women's match, best I've seen in years.
Women's Rumble match.
Women's Rumble match, best I've seen in years.
Not only did we get a surprise return of Naomi, which was fantastic and highly rumored. I still believe she was under contract to TNA.
You did.
I still believe she was. However, there is now a working relationship with TNA. Because the Knockouts champion appeared, and this is now the second time that has happened.
Yeah.
Because Mickie James in 2020?
22.
2022?
Yeah, it was just a couple of years back.
I don't remember. It's all blur.
It wasn't that long ago, but you're right. That was the first one.
The first time, and it was like, oh my God, they're actually acknowledging promotions outside of the WWE, but...
And then Jade Cargill coming back or signing. That's a big free agent signing, even though I'm not a big fan of hers. Big.
So, just for reference, Dom is my roommate. I was watching the Rumble yesterday, and he just popped in to kind of check in what was going on, like he does every now and again. And number 24 happened, which was Valhalla. The former Logan.
And she was wearing the horns.
She was wearing the horns, which everyone thought was great. I still don't understand that. And then R-Truth came out. And Dom thought it was the stupidest but most funniest thing in the world.
It was hilarious. I loved it.
But
one of the funniest segments of the whole entire show. 2 segments was both R-Truth. It was hilarious.
And you know what's even better is I made sure Dom got to watch R-Truth actually in the Rumble.
That was hilarious.
A men's Rumble. But
so
not just that, the surprises were great. Jade Cargill debut. The right woman won because
Bayley winning just was such a shock.
See, it wasn't a shock to me. Because they've built the storyline with her and Damage Control. So the whole story is going to be that she's going to go after Rhea.
It will, yes.
And then I think she's going to turn on
The look on her face when the three were on the side of the ring, and she realized. I mean, obviously she knew she was going to win, but that look, you could just see it. You could just see that satisfaction that
it was the one thing that she hadn't done.
Poop I've been through in the last 2 years, and really, it's been poop she's been through in the last 2 years, because they've kind of left her on the sidelines.
Well, she was injured for a long while there as well.
She was. But to see her kick, what's her name, off the side of the ring, and the smile she had on her face was just so good. It was so well done. I just loved start to finish. The whole match was so well choreographed, from Jade picking up Nia Jax. I don't know. Nia's what, 2 something in weight?
Got to be at least 250. Like,
she's a big lady. Yep. And it was like, she didn't struggle to pick her up. Like, she just picked her up and tossed her over the top rope.
It's one of those things that it's an overused cliche in the wrestling world. To me, it was the equivalent of a woman's equivalent of Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant. Despite it being done before, we don't talk about that in the WWE. Yes. Hogan was the first one to slam Andre the Giant.
It was a big moment. It was one of those when I seen her pick her up, and it wasn't like she just kind of picked her up and threw. She picked her up, walked over to the ropes, and threw her. It was like, holy crap, that woman's strong.
Yeah.
So even though Jade didn't win it, they made her big. They put her over.
And not just that, and it's something I messaged you about when I was watching it, because you would watch it, I wouldn't say live, but watch it the night of, is that they didn't rely on one single female coming back from the past. Not a Lita, not a Trish, not a Molly Holly, no one. It was all NXT or debuts or the actual stars.
If you listen to Bayley's post-show press conference, and she alluded to that, and she said, I don't remember ever having a stronger female roster than we have right now. That we could host a Royal Rumble and not have to rely on anybody from the past.
It's insane. It's wild.
Yes.
Because
great match.
Yeah,
I liked it. Top start to finish, it was good.
Probably one of the best Rumbles since the 2020 Rumble, the men's 2020 Rumble.
Yes.
Where, we don't need to get into that, but men's 2020 Rumble.
So then, what was
then
next?
They had the Roman Reigns World Championship match.
Yeah, second, which I thought was really weird.
First off, really weird. Weird placement. However, to me, it indicated 2 things. One, no surprises, nothing crazy happening in the match. 2, we were not getting The Rock to come out at all.
No. And
that's probably why they put it there. Because if you put it on last, like you did last year, you have to assume there's a big angle happening like they did with Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and the Bloodline.
Yes.
You needed to put it somewhere where it still felt like a big match, but it wasn't a big match. And so it got that placement. It got second placement, which if I'm Roman and I'm the other 3 men in that match, I'm pissed.
And you could almost tell it was almost like they didn't effing care. I didn't get anything out of the match. Like it was...
No, I will disagree with that, because I was watching it and I realized something. The version of AJ Styles that we saw in that match is Bullet Club AJ Styles.
Yes.
That's you don't think I'm motherfucking good enough?
Yeah.
I'm going to go show you. And you're going to put me in a match where no one else seems to care? I'm going to care.
Yeah.
Or
I didn't like it. I just found it a typical WWE match.
I don't like the WWE. It's a typical Roman match where they walk around, they take 30 minutes to do what you could do in 5, and you have outside interference to win a match. Again.
And it's just the same thing I've seen for the last, 3 years as Roman as a champion.
Yeah, but we got to eliminate Hulk Hogan from the record books, except we had Hulk Hogan open up the Rumble.
Yeah, wasn't that weird?
Just for those who don't understand my hate, no one racist and complete dirtbag Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So that match, I give it big thumbs down. Women's match, thumbs up.
Then after that, we had the Kevin Owen and Logan Paul.
I'm going to give it a thumbs even.
I think, and despite the ending, I think the match was great. And I will give Logan Paul this. I hate him as a human being and his brother as a human being. He's committed to being a WWE wrestler.
He's good. I mean, he's got the moves.
He's got the athleticism, but again, they had to do a screwy finish because you can't make anyone look bad.
It's just so typical of how WWE's been over the last 5 years or so years, and I was hoping for a change with Triple H in charge with.
Well, they had, to be fair, with Triple H and Paul Triple H Levesque, as he's now being known as.
Yes.
They're doing longer term storytelling. They're not just doing 4 weeks and shotgunning everything.
It was a match. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad.
To see, for a middle of a Rumble pay-per-view,
it was okay.
To me, that's a good match to have.
Yeah.
Again, Kevin Owens should be doing more, but he's so solid that next week you could say, hey, he's in an elimination chamber fighting for the championship, and everyone's like, he could win it.
And then
you have the men's Rumble,
which really is the spotlight match. It's the highlight match. It's the match everybody tunes in for. The women's becoming more and more.
Hey, this year, and I'll say this year, going into the women's Rumble, there was about 10 people that I could see winning.
Yes.
And if any of them won, I would like, make sense. You could do something with that. The men's Rumble, there was 2 guys winning that Rumble match.
You knew
and a long dark horse third.
You knew it was going to come down to Punk and Cody. But there was nothing.
But knowing that, do you not build the entire story in the Rumble about that? I'm sorry, I alluded to it earlier, the 2020 Rumble.
Why not put him in 1 and 2?
No, again, I don't think that's a great idea. Punk cannot wrestle for that long.
He can sit on the sidelines like normally does.
But the 2020 Rumble, the reason why I brought that up earlier, and because it was the best storytelling in a Rumble that I've ever seen. For 2 reasons. You might not remember the Rumble based on the year, but 1, it showed how dominant you can book a superstar in a Rumble and still make it interesting. Because that was the Rumble where Brock Lesnar went in as the champion because no one was ready to fight Brock. And for the first 15 people, he just eliminated them as if it was easy. And sitting next to the old man here, literally sitting next to the old man when Drew McIntyre claymored him out, he popped out of his seat. And we're watching at home. And he was complaining the entire time how it was a terrible Rumble, the worst Rumble he had ever seen. This is stupid. This is terrible. And then that moment happened. And I remember there's a little light bulb that went off in my head because I popped as well, not nearly as much as the old man, but that's what they wanted. They built the entire Rumble for that moment. Yes. For you to pop for that and then pop at the end. So you put Cody in it first. And you have him put Gunther or whoever you want, and you have them be fighting. I love what they did with Jimmy and Jay first. I think that was a cool touch. But does that not now, you don't need the match. You've had the match.
The whole thing I thought was poorly orchestrated because obviously, I mean, people you guys do know it's fake, right? Shut up.
Yeah, here, tell you what, let's go down to the ring. You turn on your back and get into the position, and I will take a steel chair and hit you on the back. I'm not even going to go full charge on it. I'll do 50% charge with one of those steel chairs just to make the noise. You tell me how real it is now.
Exactly. But I thought the whole thing was
boring, ill-conceived,
just bad.
By the books. Number 1 and number 2, they have a storyline coming in. They do a bit of a match. A heel comes in, they gang up on the babyface. A babyface comes out, they even the odds. A heel turns on a heel. Like it's as if they went, how can we do this in the most easy way possible to do? And started coloring within the lines.
Yeah. It
was boring.
Disappointing.
Not only that, but they had an excellent opportunity to tell a story here.
Yes.
Cody was in the Rumble, was tired and beaten, and then Punk comes in now, again, I've said this to multiple people now, not just you. Punk comes in at 30, gets the reaction. If it's me booking it, I book it so Punk doesn't eliminate a single soul. He gets caught with a crossroads when he first comes in. He does his normal, what everyone gets when they first get into the ring. You have 10, 15 seconds of just big moves, Pepsi plunge, the go to sleep, the high knees in the corner. Then he turns around and he catches crossroads.
Yeah.
From Cody Rhodes. He goes into the corner and you almost forget about Punk. Comes down to the final 4. It's actually the final 5 because you forgot about Punk. That's how long he's been out in the corner for. Help, roll off to the side of the ring and chill on the side on the ground.
Yes.
You have Cody eliminate everyone else in the final 4. And you have Punk come in and you make it so Cody's exhausted and I wouldn't do the full celebration, but I'd have him toss the guy over. Or you have like the Gunther elimination where they're both teetering on the edge and you have them both go over and the announcer go, oh my God, whose feet touch last? And then you have the bell ring and you have Punk slide in and sit in the middle of the ring, cross-legged, because the entire place would have booed Punk out of that building.
Yeah, exactly.
Because let's face it, no matter how much you want to put Punk as a face in the WWE, you put him against Seth Rollins, which you now no longer can do because a guy who's 45 and doesn't wrestle all that much apparently blows his triceps any pay-per-view match he goes into nowadays. Oh, did you hear about that? Yeah, he's gone out. He's out now. Not at WrestleMania.
I'm just reading it because I thought I saw it flash up on my screen, and WWE sources have confirmed to Fightful that CM Punk has sustained another injury.
1 hour ago, CM Punk confirms he tore his triceps at Royal Rumble and will miss WrestleMania.
Just stop. Just stop wrestling. You're an old man. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled overtime period.
It was a terrible match. It was another issue, and I saw it all over Twitter because I'm a music guy. When I hear the first sounds of someone's music, I should know who it is.
Yes.
This generic, plain Jane guitar riff over a synth music for every single person is exhaustingly boring.
Well, we don't know who's who anymore. There's not the static.
There's a video of Seth Rollins in the crowd in character, not knowing who someone is coming out to the ring.
Right? Whose music is that? I don't know.
Tell me
you didn't know Hulk Hogan's music. Tell me you don't know CM Punk's music, Edge's music.
You don't even have to be a big name.
Music.
Dolph Ziggler.
Right?
Zack Ryder.
You knew them. You knew them by their entrance.
Zack Ryder, not a huge name.
No.
If there's we have a handful of people watching right now. If one of them, other than us, knew who Zack Ryder was or Matt Cardona, I'd be surprised.
Exactly. The only cool part of the whole entire match was at the very end where Cody gets up on the ring ropes and he gives a shout out to the Young Bucks. It was so freaking cool. It was one of those moments where you go, did he just do that?
Well, he's allowed
I bet you he gets shit when he gets back.
He's allowed to now. Remember, they're not allowed to do this.
Yeah,
the Bucks aren't allowed to do this.
It was an obvious shout out.
The click.
Shout out to the
click?
Bucks.
To the click? Oh, yeah, they're the ones who started it first. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
They're the ones running WWE now.
It was a shout out to the Bucks. Come on.
Well, yeah, he did the gun and he did the...
Right? It was awesome. I was the only time I smiled through that whole match was when he did that. It was like, that was cool, Cody. That was cool. I give the whole, if I had to rate it out of 1 to 10, I give it a 5. And the only reason it gets a 5 is because of the women's match was a 9.
I think a 5 is I think a 5 is very.
Well,
I think you're giving that
when you look at what was there 4 matches.
4 matches. One was good. One was
Right?
great. One was shit.
So if you give 9 out of 10 for that one,
Yep.
and then the rest, I mean, the Cody or the
Kevin Owens
Kevin
Logan
Owens
Paul
match was probably a 7 or an 8, maybe
I
a
see.
7.
I'm giving that a 6 at best.
So I mean, I'll give it a 5. I'll give it a 5 out of 10, which is fail in my books.
You had 4 matches and you fucked up 3 of them.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So
yeah. Other news I want to talk to you. Sorry, we're going very over time here.
Way late.
Other news.
Do we want to talk about that?
No. I did want to, but now we're too late. We're not going to talk about the third thing. The other news. Starting 1 year and 28 days from today. 1 year minus 28 days today.
Thank you.
The WWE network will no longer exist in Canada. It will no longer be on Sportsnet. It will be on Netflix.
That's kind of
as well as Raw will be on Netflix in the United States. But WWE's entire catalog for the international audience from Canada to Mexico and beyond is going to be on Netflix.
And
it's
again, post the news conference, if you want to call it a news conference, Triple H talked about that. And he literally said, this is the biggest news coming out of the WWE in a very long time. He wouldn't talk about the other thing that we're not going to talk about. He just plain refused to. Which I don't blame him. I mean, what do you say?
It's his father-in-law. You're not going to...
You can't say much at this point.
No.
And we shouldn't either. We'll deal with it when we have more time. Everybody's watching WWE and what they're doing. WWE was the first major streaming service, single source streaming service. Is that the right way to say that? Where sport company took their product and put it all on a streaming service. Sole streaming service. Everybody's watching. And when I say everybody, I'm talking all the big leagues. I'm talking the NFL. I'm talking NBA. I'm talking MLB.
That's also not true. So I because the NHL has had the NHL, like you can get the on the internet,
but not solely. Like,
yeah, I can. So that's a very stupid wording because that's not true.
Well, it is because I could watch hockey on TSN.
I can watch Raw on SmackDown or on Sportsnet.
Not anymore.
Oh, when it comes to going to Netflix. Sorry. I thought you were talking the original WWE network.
Yeah, no. The original WWE network was still the first in what they did. People were watching to see how successful they were going to be. Who else did it? To the extent that WWE did it.
NHL and MLB. They were the first ones to do it. You could go online and you could... NHL did it first.
WWE was before that.
Nope.
I'm gonna call you on that. I'm not positive, but I'm gonna do some research.
The wording WWE used and still uses when talking about that is full service production. So basically, the reason they have to add full service production is because they made the content, they produced it, and then they put it on the platform.
True.
So what NHL does is they have Sportsnet has the rights to the television, right? NHL says part of your rights package is we can stream it online and you get paid this percentage. They've now changed that just like WWE did. Now it's all under Sportsnet.
Yeah.
But
anyways,
NHL
people are watching to see what's happening now with it all going online. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm looking, I mean, makes no difference to me. I have Netflix and I'll watch it the same way I've always done.
Well, and it's going to change how they do production as well because we watch AEW. I sometimes watch the AEW Fight TV feeds, which is the European broadcast, which means when they throw out a picture-in-picture, they throw out a commercial, it doesn't go to commercial. There is no commercials on the Fight TV broadcasts.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So what happens is you still get the broadcast, but it's usually like Excalibur usually takes a bit of a break. It's Shivani and Taz who do the commentary, and it's a lot less structured. It's a lot more goofy, and it sounds like they're just shooting the shit watching the wrestling show.
Nice.
I cannot see WWE doing that. But they also said that Netflix confirmed that if you have the ads version of Netflix, you're going to get ads throughout the live broadcast like you normally would.
Have you heard it? So I know we're way over time. I'm going to go back to hockey. Chris just posted something saying the Canucks are already looking to rehome Zadorov.
I haven't heard anything about that.
I think he's doing too many edibles again. Okay, carry on.
I lost my train of... Oh, if you have the Netflix with ads plan, which is now going to be of their most recent announcement, like their most recent press release, which is at the same time as, or the same day as the WWE announcement, 40% of their new subscribers are on ad plans.
Yeah.
They're going to get ads during the live broadcast of Raw and SmackDown if you're at International. So how do they do their production? It's going to be different. But how different is it going to be?
Right.
It's going to be like there's a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Right.
Especially with it's a 10-year deal worth $5 billion. That is billion with a B. However, there is an opt-out clause at the end of 5 years from Netflix. There's a 5-year opt-out from Netflix after year 5. They can say, we're done, we're not doing it anymore. And that means the deal's only worth 5 years at $2.5 billion. There's also a 10-year add-on option from Netflix, meaning that this 10-year deal could be a 20-year deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's huge. It's huge money.
It's not even huge money. That's a terrible deal from the WWE's perspective, because in 10 years, your rights for streaming are going to be that much more.
Or it could be that much less.
But if everyone goes to streaming, if NFL goes to Amazon and Warner Bros does their own and everything, that money's going to go up. They might have screwed them. They might have been smart by getting in there first, but they might also screw themselves by being in there first.
Yeah.
But it's a position that the WWE's always been willing to take.
Yes.
On things like that. So
definitely.
But we've gone well over time. We've done almost half hour of extra gabbing today.
Let's end it.
Thank you so much for everyone who hung out tonight. Thank you so much to Matt Sekeres for taking the time and jumping on to discuss the Canucks at what I called the mid-season check-in. We're past mid-season, but it's as close as we're going to get. Enjoy the week of no hockey. Enjoy the All-Star game if you're into that, or enjoy the week of just relaxing and only listening to the rumor mill. We will be back here next Monday to talk about the All-Star game and maybe something. We might have a very short show. We might have done an hour and a half tonight, so that next week when we do half an hour, it's equaled out. But until then, follow us on X or Twitter or whatever it is you want to call it at HSP_pod. That is Instagram, Facebook, at HSP pod, TikTok, which is slowly blowing up. So if you're following us on TikTok, please do comment, leave a comment, and put Zadorov. I just put the comment Zadorov if you're listening to the show this late, whether it's live, because I want to know if you're listening, and put it there. Are you good, old man? You look like you're having an aneurysm or something.
I'm trying to figure out what you're doing here.
I'm doing the plugs at the end of the show that we have to do. God forbid if we ever get advertisers. This guy's going to be like, we can't do all this. It's time to wrap up. However, you beautiful people, have yourselves a wonderful night. Mwah. We bid you adieu.